Dr. Harsha Kumar Shetty, may I invite you on the dais, please?
Thank you, VIP, for giving me this opportunity. The subject, current and emerging challenges of poultry and possible solutions. Every one of us in this hall are from poultry industry or one or the other way connected with the industry. Hence, every one of us know what are the challenges and what are the solutions. So that makes, in fact, my task easier. So what I'm going to do is, I will list only some of the important challenges which I can understand better and put my perspective into it. And I will emphasize that we need to have some kind of self-regulation and working together for a common cause as a family is a real need to overcome any of these challenges. In fact, we are in the business of human food. Even though we say we are into poultry farming, it is nothing but human food, production of human food. So when we look at the state of food security and nutrient security all over the world, we get three distinct pictures. So picture number one is an affluent society or a country where food security and nutrition security both are taken care. And another world is of aspirational world where we come from, India and some of the Asian countries come from. Probably food security is taken care, maybe with the help of the local governments. But nutrition security is, and we are really a protein hungry country. And we have another world which is called a poor countries where food security and nutrition security both are not ensured. So until 2019, everything was good for these affluent countries. And with the outbreak of COVID-19 and all other added developments that has happened post 2020 in this world, the same affluent society which had availability, access and affordability towards everything whatever they want as a materialistic society, they started feeling the pinch. The countries which had a real problem of deflation, they moved into double-digit inflation now. The real result of that is their affordability is under shake. It is in a shaky ground. And we look at this aspirational world, somehow all these aspirational world countries are able to take care or continue the food security with the help of the governments. However, the poor countries are in difficult situation when compared to what it was in 2019. The hunger in those countries remain unresolved, and the protein hunger in aspirational countries like ours definitely needs more attention. So today's world with all these insecurities, challenges, disruption in the supply chain management, high input cost, then high consumer cost, everything has on a global scale has put everything under stress. So also the poultry, we cannot be an exception to that. So in my presentation, I will make an attempt to look into the protein hunger of the world. So that's the reason why I have taken this UNICEF's 2022 report. What it says is, you can see that what it says is, we have to repurposing the food and the agriculture policy towards healthy diet along with the food security. It's an interesting report. I suggest we being in the human food industry, I suggest all of us must read this. That report also talks about nutritional security and the protein security. Let's look at the world population in 2020. Because all of us are Indians, I would like to use crores instead of million or the billions as to indicate the figures. So 2020, it was 780 crores was the world population. Same time, Indian population was 138. And today we are at 140 plus. And 2030, world population is expected to be something like a 8.5 billion or 850 crores. And we will be reaching 150 crores. Hence, FAO in its report, it says that among the total meat percentage that is consumed by this world, poultry will reach about a 40% from the current of 30%. What is the reason? Because it's a healthy protein, it's affordable, it's versatile, sustainable, low carbon food, everything, carbon print, everything. So with that, FAO says that poultry is a better thing as a protein source compared to any other meat source. And it's definitely going to happen. So look at this graph. It's a very interesting graph. The world population reached 1 billion in 1850. It says it took about 800 years to reach a 1 billion. Next 100 crores or a 1 billion, it took 100 years. So 1950, we were 2 billions. So 1970, we were 200. Again, we added 200. Then from 1970 to 2000, again 200 crores. Then 2022, if we take, again every, say, 10 years, we started adding 100 crores into the thing. So where we ended up now, to show here, 2050, it is expected to be something like a 9.7, or 2055, it would be about 10. Now the problem is how to feed this world. So before that, there is one more interesting thing, may not be relevant for this topic, but interesting to know. You look at this is actually the median line. They're expecting or estimating that this would be the population. And look at this straight dotted line and a curved dotted line. This straight dotted line says, from now onwards, if every other family, remember, every other family, if it gets one child extra, so we will be at a 14 billion plus by 2100. Or if every other family give birth to one child less, this would be the situation. We would be less than 8 billion by 2100. So let me come back to the 2020 situation. We are at 138 crore, and 2030 will be 150. And 2050, we are expected to be 166. Now in 2022, the per capita consumption was estimated at a 5.3 kg per year. And in 2030, with the 5% year-on-year growth, we expect to reach by about 7.2. The result of this population explosion is an environmental crisis because of a climate change, then biodiversity loss, and the natural resources depletion like water and the minerals. So now, the interesting things are that why it causes an environmental crisis. All of us know it's only 71% of the earth's surface is covered by water, and only 29% is available as a land mass. From this land mass, we know out of that only 71% is habitable. Rest are inhabitable because they are barren lands or they are ice glaciers for whatever the reason. Only 71% of the available land mass is available for habitation. Out of that, about 1,000 years ago, only 4% of that land mass available was used for agriculture. Today, it has reached 50%, and about 25% considered as a wilderness, means it is left as it is, used for anything else other than human habitation or any construction activity. And about 25% is road, infrastructures, house, and everything else. Now, what is expected in 2050 to sustain this population? It's interesting. We will have to go from 50% to 60% towards the cultivation of this available land, and 35% will go towards the infrastructure, and wilderness available is only would be a 10% left. Now, another interesting fact here, say about 10,000 years ago, when we consider total vertebrate animal mass, in that only 1% was a human, and rest are all was with the wild animals. Now what's the current situation? And livestock was 0. Now what's the situation? From 99%, the vertebrate mass is only 1%. From 1%, human reached 32% as the total vertebrate mass, and livestock, which is 0, now it is 67%. Now what is the result of that? The result of that is, for this human population to survive on this earth with all its current activity, we are using 170% of the resources. That means, if this world has to move forward with the same growth trajectory and activity, we need 2 earths for the life to sustain. Now, by 2050, by same rule, we need 3, something which is impossible. Now the question is, our next generation to survive and lead a comfortable life, what is required is, we need to conserve something for them to enjoy. Otherwise, our next generation will definitely say, our forefathers have depleted everything and now we are struggling. So with this, now if I say the human explosion causes environmental crisis, I think all of us agree with this point. Now, what's the task in hand for poultry? So, to produce food to satisfy the demand of that affluent country, or to produce food to ensure food security of the poor country, or to produce food for the aspirational country like ours. But we have to take care of all the three because all the three are part of this globe. So now, otherwise I can say, to take care of the 800 crores or 8 billion population's food security, there are agriculture things. What is our responsibility is to take care of the protein security. So I will go for it next. Now, what is a task in waiting? Means for 2030 and for 2050. So by 2030, we'll be adding 50 more mouths to feed. And for 2050, we'll be adding 150 crores more mouths to feed. Is a task smaller, task bigger? Is the task impossible? I don't say it is impossible, but it requires a very considered decisions to move forward. So because of this situation, the target which is given to us to feed the protein for all these in poultry sector is definitely under stress. Okay. But what is unique in poultry? Unique in poultry is a chicken is the fastest growing, lowest FCR, and there is improvement happening every year, easily scalable to meet the demand, and smart people, smart technology, smart tools, everything is available. And breeding companies are engaged in selection process to do everything for the sake of the poultry industry. And producers are putting best of their effort to get a maximum productivity and the returns from that. So if the question is asked, is that target or a task in hand achievable? It is achievable. There is no doubt with that. But there are certain challenges to it. I know all these challenges are known to all of us. I don't really go in depth into all these things. Some we consider them as a perennial challenges, some are seasonal challenges, some are emerging challenges, some are man-made, some are naturally nature-posed challenges, some are combination. So in a perennial challenges, I'll take up only the raw material volatility, rest of the things I'll not take up. And when it comes to seasonal, I'll talk about seasonal variation in demand and the raw material quality issues. Then in the emerging challenges, I'll talk about only two: plant-based meat alternatives and food safety issues. Then in a man-made problems, it's the overproduction and the overweight of the birds. Then biosecurity lapses, manpower issues, improper waste disposal, pollution, and important is the AMR, antimicrobial resistance. So then nature-posed challenges are the climate changes and the related issues, and the crop failure, which disrupt the supply of ingredients. And the last are the man-made and the nature-posed together. Some of the challenges are there: emergence of new strains of viruses and animal welfare issues. So only points those I have highlighted, I'll talk a little more about those points. Now the raw material volatility. What is the dictionary meaning of volatility? Something which is liable to change rapidly and abruptly. This is the dictionary meaning. Now, I'm sure with all of our experience, sometimes we doubt whether this word volatility is coined only for the poultry. So much volatility we face day in and day out, it looks like that this word is coined for our industry. That's what I get a feeling sometimes. We know that it is governed by demand and supply, harvest yield, maybe quality and the quantity difference in the harvest yield, international scenario, all these things, okay? Then storage issues and all those things are the causing problems. Now, biosecurity lapses and the diseases. So there is a saying about the security. It says, break in security is a rule than the continuity in security. Everywhere we find any disasters happen, we always say, there was a break in security, so it has happened. So break in security is a rule, not the continuity is a rule. It's the fact. That's the reason why disasters happen, losses happen. Now, LPAI, thanks to the government, they have given their consent to produce vaccine. I'm sure in about 6 months from now, that vaccine should be available in the market. And HPAI, there's a good news. Just last month, from 21st to 25th in France, 90th meeting was there, annual meeting was there with the OIE. Now it is called World Organization for Animal Health. In that, Dr. David Swine, who is considered as the world's AI specialist or the expert, he has suggested in that meeting that definitely vaccination against HPAI should be considered both as a preventive and a control measure. Once WOAH gets convinced about this, it may happen about a year or so, then all the governments at least will agree to that, yes, this can be used. Then certainly we will get permission for HPAI. I'm sure that will give a solution at least to 50% of the problems we are facing in terms of broiler mortality, in terms of layer mortality, in terms of production disturbances happen every now and then. Now the seasonal changes is the seasonal variation in demand. So seasonal variation in demand, we cannot blame anyone because it is inbuilt into our culture. We have customs, traditions, festivals, individual choices, vegetarian season. So we have to live with this. We cannot do anything with that. Now the raw material quality issues, we know why it happens. Climate changes, untimely rain, then poor harvesting method or a storage method, then transportation issues. All these things are giving reason for the raw material quality issues. This is an interesting graph which I've taken from DSM Chemicals recent report. So look at that red color things. These are all the countries in which there is a 95% of finished poultry feed. 95% of the finished poultry feed, that's compounded feed, has got one or the other contamination. And 82% of the raw material have got one or the other contamination. Now, emerging challenges, let me talk a little more about this. Plant-based meat alternatives. This is catching up in advanced countries. So all of us know Sodex, or at least those of us, we have our family members working in IT sector, they come home with the Sodex tickets. The Sodex is one of the food suppliers in US. They have decided that half of their college menus in future will have plant-based meat alternatives. And out of 10 important universities in the US, 3 universities, Pennsylvania State University, then Michigan State University, and Wisconsin University have decided that 35%, 55%, and 30% of their college canteen menus will have plant-based meat alternatives in future. Who has done that? Our friend, Humane Society for the United States. This is the same NGO which is fighting against poultry industry in the Supreme Court for the cage ban and bird transportation and everything. Whatever the problems we are facing in Indian courts, it is by this NGO. We can say how powerful this NGO is. Now the plant-based meat alternatives, let me tell something more about it. They are not exactly the plants, but they are considered as ultra-processed products, concentrated or isolated from some plant crops. The nutritional and the clean label they are printing, they are under question now. They are not fully accepted by the world. They are under question, but still they are claiming it. And important thing is, it doesn't taste like meat. All of us know, king and queen of the taste is a meat. Anyone who eats meat today in India, it's not for protein, it is for that taste. Hence, this doesn't taste like meat. That is the one biggest relief for us. However, if any company in the future comes up with a product which delivers the great taste and the overall eating experience at a comparable price to the meat available, it can definitely create a dent in our market. But it may not happen soon, but there are millions of dollars are pumped into this research activities. And if you go to website and look for the plant-based meat alternatives, it's a big activity in Europe and America. It's a very big activity. Just go through that. You'll be surprised what all the things they are doing. Of course, they are not really talking much against poultry. That's another important thing. They are talking much about beef and pork. That's the one thing. But still, if it catches up, it will not be easy for us to handle. Now, the food safety issues in which we as veterinarians are the part of it or are responsible for it. All of us know bacterial contamination, foodborne illness, pesticide residue, antibiotic residues, all those things are the food safety, come under food safety issues. This is a report from US. I draw your attention here. Every year, about something like a 1.35 million cases of salmonella contamination or salmonella related infections are reported in US every year from last 2 decades. Okay? Out of that, it says 23% are of poultry origin. So, if we do the similar survey here, I'm not sure how many million cases will come and what percentage is responsible for poultry. We do not know. So we know this, how this spread happens if a poultry is contaminated. Please remember, there are 11 different methods available, 11 different scientific methods available to estimate antibiotic residues, bacterial pathogens, and the pesticides in chicken today. 11 different methods are available. They are very quick. If SSAI decides to implement this, it can happen in every region. So coming to the man-made problems, overproduction and overweight birds. I have a question here to all of us. Is it a overproduction or a seasonal variation in demand? Because in this year, January to March, bird rate was ranging between 50 to 80, whereas from April to June, it is 100 to 150. If it was overproduction, how this has happened? We can say in summer, about 100 gram body weight less, 1 or 2% additional mortality happens. Yes, we agree, but will that take the price to this level? We do not know. So, is it a overproduction or a seasonal variation in demand with the seasonal effect on output? Now, look at these figures. In the year 1920, estimated placement of broiler DOC per month was 38 crore, and about 27 was in integration, and about 11 was in open market. Whereas for this year, the forecast is about 44 crores DOC placement per month, out of which about 35 crores expected in the integration division, and about 9% in the open market. Now, this 44 crores has got a one caveat. It is assumed that if the breeder birds are kept up to 68 weeks of age, this is going to be the production. As of now, what is happening is all of us are culling breeder birds between 60 to 65 weeks. In that event, the output will be something like a 2 crores less than this. So probably we may be, instead of 44, there could be a placement of 42 crores of DOCs per month. Now, seasonal variation demand, I would add overweight. If every bird culled is having a 200 gram additional body weight, it adds 3.62 crore birds per month. Please remember, 3.62 crore birds per month equivalent additional meat production happens if we cull the bird with just a 200 grams of additional thing. And in terms of feed, it's about a 1.3 million tons of additional feed is required per year only for this purpose. So we need to think twice before taking the bird's body weight beyond 2.2 or a 2.4 kg, because we are already facing a crisis of availability of feed material. At this stage, I would like to share a narrate and a story. Not exactly the story, but exactly as this dates back to year 2009. Myself and my colleague Deepak Khosla, we were touring in Tamil Nadu. So we met one of the progressive integrators over there. So Deepak asked him, "Sir, you are in this industry for more than 20 years. People who came to this industry much after you, maybe completed 5 or 10 years, they have grown bigger than you. Why you are very slow?" His reply was an eye-opener for us. I'll narrate verbatim what he says. What he said was, "I sell my bird with between the body weight of 2 to 2.2 kg. I'm talking about 2009, say between 40 to 42 days of age. And I get the payment from the traders within 2-3 days. Say by 45 days of age of those days, I get my money. I always say to myself that it is not your money, it is vendor's money." So first and foremost thing what I do is, whatever the amount I'm supposed to pay to the vendors, I pay to them. If anything is left, I calculate whether it is profit. If it's a profit, I keep a portion of that as a reserve, and a portion of that I use it for expansion. So my expansion depends if and if only there is a profit. I do not expand only with my greed, only with my over ambition. He also said, I have got 1,000 plus employees working with me, considering at least a 4 or 5 members in each family, say about a 5,000 people are depending upon me, my business, and my family is dependent on me. I have to be doubly careful before I close my business. It certainly talks about commitment, self-discipline, ambition, but not the greed. I always think, if all of us follow this, will there be a situation of overproduction? Will there be a situation of distress sale? It will not happen. Now, the man-made problems, I talk about improper waste disposal. We know it's a major biosecurity threat, and we are wasting a valuable protein, and we are adding to municipal waste, then it's a public nuisance. Definitely, a massive movement is required to convince the poultry fraternity to invest into rendering plants or rendering all these things, maybe on an individual basis or on a community basis. It helps us a lot. Now, another issue is a manpower issue. So let me talk a little more about this manpower issue. All of us know we need professional people, skilled people, semi-skilled people, and unskilled people to run our business or an industry or our production units. Severe labor shortage is there, will be there. No one can control it, because as the economy progresses, people will not be interested to do labor job. So it will definitely be there. And the only solution is, wherever possible, adopting automation. The rest of the category, poultry sector is today unattractive. Even if you offer higher salary, it is unattractive. Why? Just look into this. When we talk about a young talent, we certainly need a young talent to take the industry forward. But what the young talent looks for? Today, the young talent do not have much of an information about the industry. So by offering scholarship to them, or tying up with any academia, or giving them some kind of an internship, we will be providing an opportunity for this younger generation to get into first-hand glimpse of our activity. We are so closed. We are not really opening up to them. If we open up, then only we can attract the young talent. And I'm sure without young talent, this industry cannot move forward. And interestingly, this is a problem everywhere in the world. In cow, the oldest means among their technical team, the oldest person is 82 years old. So this problem is everywhere in the world. The poultry is unable to attract new talent and young talent. Now this Generation Z, what is that young talent we are talking about? They have got a least or nil financial commitment. So when we join for our job, all of us remember there are 3-4 tasks with us. One, save some money, send it to your parents. Save some money, support your younger siblings for education. Save some money, pay back your bank loan for the education. And today, this Generation Z, they do not have that commitment. So they are not badly in need of a job. Then what they look for? They look for, can we see that? They look for a situation where they get a work, they want to work in a place where they can make an impact, so that they get a recognition early. All of us had a lot of patience. That recognition may come in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years. We never used to worry about it. But today's generation, this month if he joins, within 6 months he needs a recognition. My own example of my own executive assistants, we take MBA graduates, they don't stay with us for beyond 8 months. It's difficult to retain them. And one fellow told me, if you leave the job, what you will do? He said, I don't mind, sir. I'm the only one son. Okay, he's from Orissa. I'm the only one son, sir. We already have a house in Orissa, and my father has purchased 3 sites. I have no issues, sir. This is the situation. And another important thing is employers' commitment to the welfare of the employees. Here I'll quote a nice example. All of us know in 2020 and 2021, when COVID-19 was there, a lot of people died, a lot of employees died in many of the organizations. We have heard, we have read how bigger corporates like Tata, Mahindra, they have taken care of their employees and or the families of those families of their employees who were killed during COVID time. When these things was going on, we, the senior executives of Venkateshwara Hatcheries, under the leadership of our Anand Saab, we requested our management that to these people who have deceased in our organization, about 23 of them have died due to COVID within the first 6 months. So we requested the management that we need to give a extra consideration in terms of compensation to them. So what we recommended was, in addition to all the statutory things and whatever the company gives to them, we requested add at least a 12 months extra salary to them. This was the request from our side. Plus, whatever the additional medical expenditure they made other than insurance, let's pay it to them. The order came, you'll be surprised. Instead of 12 months, order said give them 24 months salary. Things did not stop there. If that employee was staying with this family, staying in the quarters, allow them 1 year's time to vacate. Don't ask them to vacate the quarters immediately. Third thing, if any of their family members want a job, give them the job. And the fourth thing, 2 of their children, give complete support for education until they complete their graduation. And the last, breathe your hold. That circular said, take care of their medical insurance for next 5 years. Even if that employee, his kin doesn't become an employee of our organization, even if they move out of the organization, and if the family moves out of the quarters, at least for the next 5 years, take care of their medical insurance. Many people ask us, how come that in Venkateshwara people join and retire? Why they do not look for other options? So this is a kind of an environment that's created by the management in VHL. And I'm sure many of these companies are also following in their own way, because I know what Mr. Kishore Hegde is doing in his organization. I'm sure many of the organizations are doing. But definitely, these are all the examples to emulate by other companies. And this is one of the tools how we can attract young talent and retain them. Today, attracting them is okay, retaining them is an issue. I think this kind of an approach certainly helps. Now, I will make a little more elaborate thing on antimicrobial resistance. All of us know how it develops and what are the consequences of that, and what is our approach and efforts to mitigate it is a question all of us ask ourselves as veterinarians. Have we stopped using subtherapeutic level medicines? Or how many samples we are sending for a ABST? Or how many of our prescriptions are guided by ABST? How serious we are about mitigating AMR problem? Okay, this was a front page ad in Economic Times in the year 2016. I read it for your sake. If the AMR exists, it means you have been irresponsible with antibiotics, and it is a time you stopped doing so. So this is a paper cutting that I have taken. This is a Spanish study. This was a paper submitted in the month of April in Copenhagen in medical microbiologists, clinical microbiologists and epidemiologists annual meeting. It was in the month of April. So this paper was published. It says 40% of the supermarket meat samples were positive for a multi-drug resistant E. coli. I'm sure if we do a similar survey in India, what will come is a question mark. I leave it to you to guess. Hope all of us remember this. In 2014, Center for Science and Environment, Delhi, made a big publication. It said chicken is a living antibiotic. Chicken is a living drug-resistant bacteria. In addition to that, see, there is a public misconception. Use of antibiotics in food animals leads to resistant superbugs, and treatment of food animals will always ends up in antibiotic resistance. We need to work to remove this misconception from the public. This is Padma Bhushan, Dr. Devi Shetty, a well-known cardiologist from Bangalore. Please read what he said. He says, eating chicken is like eating a course of antibiotic. Whether it's true or not true, it's all different. But a person of that repute, when he says eating chicken is like taking an antibiotic course, at least some lakhs people believe it. Or at least it sows a seed of doubt in their mind. So as poultry veterinarians, we have veterinarians oath, and as a poultry veterinarian's job, if we say we need to address health and welfare of poultry while promoting responsible production and protecting public health. This is our oath as poultry veterinarians. We need to ask a question to ourselves, are we doing this job? Now, as poultry veterinarians, yes, we have to prevent and alleviate the suffering of poultry. So we have an ethical obligation and a professional responsibility. However, what is suggested is, when we talk about the antibiotic stewardship or the supervision, we need to ask for a non-antibiotic alternatives if it is available. If it is not available, let us choose a proper antibiotic. Once we choose that proper antibiotic, let us take care of the safe and effective administration of that. That brings down the possibility of AMR to a great extent. Now, this is a discussion went on. Immediately after that, Center for Science and Environment's publication came up. A meeting was called in Delhi. One of the suggestions came in that meeting. I read it out. Please bring blanket ban on import, production, blending, distribution, prescription, dispensing, and use of medically important antibiotics for food animals. Veterinary antibiotics should be sold on prescription in triplicate. Keep a copy by the prescription writer, one for the dispenser and other one for the user. This only can lead to traceability, and thereby it can bring down the AMR situation. Otherwise, it is like all the things are available in front of us and there is a need, we keep using it. It is like keep a kid here and keep all the chocolates in front of him and tell him don't eat. And you are not there. Suppose if you are there and tell him don't eat and you watch him and you can say, if he extends his hand, we can say don't eat. We are not there. It's the same situation what all of us are facing today. It certainly requires this. This was a suggestion came up. I do not know whether it will be implemented or not, I do not know. In case it is implemented, can we survive with the only veterinary antibiotics? Yes, it's possible. There are these many ways available other than antibiotics. Antibiotic alternatives to take care of infections are available. We need to explore this. We need to use this. And when all this came up, Government of India, Department of Science and Biotechnology, with the help of some UK universities, they entered into a research study, and that research study shown that, I'll show only 2 pages of this. This is a forward in that study, and kindly go through this. This is about 7 different studies. It says, look at here, all the E. coli and Salmonella contaminations. This is a very disturbing one. 87% of the cloacal saps from the broilers have shown presence of ESBL enzyme. To tell you something about ESBL enzyme, ESBL means extended spectrum beta-lactamase enzyme. Any bacteria, if it picks up the ability to produce that enzyme, all the antibiotics available today will not work. There are only two antibiotics available. One is a colistin. After this report was submitted to Government of India, colistin was banned for food animals. We all can remember, colistin is banned today from using in food animals. It was after this report. So emerging nutrition is an important thing. I think I've taken more time. I'll finish it fast. We are using live vaccines very indiscriminate way. Live example for this is a IBV virus. Today, IBV virus is emerging as it's one of the major threats for a broiler mortality and for layer and breeders drop in production and then production doesn't go up. And all the lesions we get are all mixed and very confusing. Even with the survey which is done in Asian countries in the year 2021 shows IB as the second big most reason for all these problems. And you can see here, it's only IB as the second biggest reason for mortality or all the problems in all these Asian countries. Now, when we prescribing IBV live vaccine, let's always think about coronavirus infection in human beings. How much of effort went on from the human medical fraternity to do this, and while suggesting the vaccine to us, how much of a deliberation and discussion went on among themselves, whether to vaccinate, when to vaccine, when to repeat, who to take, who should not take. Even ourselves, before taking the first COVID vaccine, we spoke to many of the peoples to find out, is it safe to take? And all of us experienced at least 2 days of fever after taking that vaccine. Still, we are so indiscriminate using live vaccines or giving live vaccine to flocks again, and again. I suggest next time when we are doing it, let us remember this coronavirus infection in human beings before giving that indiscriminate vaccines. So animal welfare issue, I'm not going to talk much about this. Animal welfare is basically a big issue. However, all of our, right from our genetic progress and all our systems are working so well and taking care of animal welfare. That is the reason why such a bird is giving us good productivity. But we need to bring this point to the notice of the public and the people. This is what Mahatma Gandhi said in 1946. We should not be cruel to the animals. So now, one last thing what I'm going to talk is the effort for advertisement. See, in advertisements, what we say in advertisement, chicken is healthy, chicken is good, eat more protein. Whom we are targeting? The people who are already eating chicken, or people who are not eating chicken or stopped eating chicken. So we need to do it in that manner. We all can remember in the 2009 when a similar thing has happened with the Cadbury chocolate, Keeda Niklata. What they did is they have taken Amitabh Bachchan to their factory and shown their production system so that it gave confidence again to all the parents to buy Cadbury for their children. But all our production systems are closed today for the public to see. If we bring that into advertisement, probably it can remove some of the misconceptions in the minds of the people. So take home message, a self-discipline and a commitment to all the vendors. Let's become responsible producers. Let's breed confidence in the minds of the consumers, public, vendors, and a sense of pride among the employees. And then maintain open communication and transparency among producers and with the government authorities. Let us come together to protect our own interest, and let us become passionate about our breeding, our farming, our veterinary care and our poultry business. What should drive our passion? A feeling that we produce best quality and a healthy at affordable protein in a responsible way, and are proud partners in ensuring nutritional security and reducing the protein hunger of this world. Let us have this pride about our industry and work towards that with the same passion. Thank you. Sorry, I've taken a long time. Thanks.